Chapter 991. The spiritual energy palm that was about to attack Luo Qingtong was ruthlessly cut open. The silver sword elder, who was laughing and leaping into the air, opened his palm to grab Luo Qingtong. His face suddenly turned cold, and his pupils constricted. The next second, rumble. His figure was immediately sent flying. A violent explosion came from his body. However, when the smoke and dust dissipated, the silver sword elder's figure was revealed. Although he was in an extremely sorry state, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Ha! Evil Dr. Gui Tong, I told you, you can't do anything to me. A sage realm expert isn't as simple as you think. He laughed loudly. Is that so? Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes, then smiled lightly and said, Who told you that this move of mine was a killing move? As soon as Luo Qingtong's voice fell, the wind and clouds in the sky suddenly changed. Rumble. A huge whirlpool suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. Following the appearance of this whirlpool, the surrounding demonic beasts all wailed and knelt on the ground. Even if the madness in their eyes didn't diminish, the dual pressure from their bloodline and soul forced them to kneel in fear. Bang! When all the demonic beasts were prostrating, a loud and sonorous cry sounded. In the next second, a huge claw suddenly stretched out and pressed heavily on the silver sword elder's body. The tip of the claw pierced through the silver sword elder where Luo Qingtong had previously attacked. Boom! The corpse of the silver sword Sects elder fell to the ground. Before he died, his eyes were still wide open. He didn't know what was going on. Where did that huge claw come from? Such a terrifying aura. What level of demonic beast was the opponent? Puff! When the silver sword sect elder died, Little Pig's miniature pig form appeared in the sky and dropped to the ground with a plop. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and scooped Little Pig into her bosom. On her forehead, the seal of the contract flashed, and her body staggered for a moment. Oh my God, you scared Grandpa Pig to death. Luckily, that silver sword elder was stupid. Little Pig patted his chest with his little pig trotter. As it turned out, Luo Qingtong's heaven-conquering art was only a feint. The real killing move was Little Pig's true form after the seal was lifted. Fortunately, that silver sword elder was injured. Otherwise, with Little Pig's sealed strength, it would have been difficult to deal with him. Plop! Plop! Seeing that the silver sword elder had died in Luo Qingtong's hands, the silver sword elders who were still strenuously resisting the tide of demonic beasts immediately knelt on the ground and cried bitterly, begging Luo Qingtong to spare their lives. All right. Luo Qingtong looked at them indifferently, but her eyes were filled with evil. As long as you can come out from under them alive, I'll spare your lives. Previously, these people said that they wanted to have a taste of their savior, the Southern Region King. Now, she would let them have a taste. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she raised her hand. Instantly, the eyes of those beasts that had gone mad and lost their rationality turned green. They panted heavily and looked like they were aroused. No. Chapter 992. At this time, they finally understood that Luo Qingtong had no intention of letting them go. There were so many demon beasts here, it was impossible for them to come out alive. They could only be gang-raped to death. They had just threatened Luo Qingtong, and their expressions were still vivid in their minds. Now, they had to taste the bitter fruit themselves. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's methods were countless times more ruthless and cold than theirs. No. The group of people rolled and crawled, running away with snot and tears streaming down their faces. However, they couldn't even run away in that kind of situation, let alone now. Before they could run far, they were caught up by a group of demonic beasts, who were panting heavily, and stopped. Ah! Mournful cries echoed in the sky. At this moment, these Silver Sword members must be extremely regretful. If they knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have provoked Luo Qingtong. But now, it was all too late. Oh my God! So explosive. Little Pig was held in Luo Qingtong's arms. He stretched his neck and looked at the scene behind him that was not suitable for children, and clicked his tongue in his heart. Oh my God, Luo Qingtong's methods are too terrifying. Offending her is indeed worse than death. These Silver Sword members were probably regretting their actions to death. If they knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have begged for mercy. Being bitten to death and swallowed by demon beasts was better than being gang-raped to death. Just as he was thinking, a jade-white hand suddenly blocked his eyes. Dirty. Luo Qingtong said and flicked his forehead. A human and a pig walked out of the mountain range. Before they walked far, Luo Qingtong's brows suddenly furrowed. She stopped and looked ahead. A group of people appeared in her line of sight. Yan Yuju. Luo Qingtong looked at the group of people in front of her. The man that was surrounded in the center had a sharp and fierce aura, and his figure was tall and handsome like an unsheathed sharp sword. It was precisely Yan Yuju. The man's aura was much more harmonious than when Luo Qingtong had first met him. He must have listened to her suggestion and improved the circulation of his meridians, and corrected the drawbacks of the incomplete sword technique. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's pupil technique had not been completely withdrawn. Her gaze swept across the group of people and she discovered that their auras were almost all at the martial spirit realm. Only one or two of them were martial ancestors, and they were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. As for Yan Yuju, who was surrounded in the middle, her aura had already fused perfectly, and she could break through to the saint realm at any time. These people were not weak. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she thought of the extraordinary news of the Lanhua family that she had heard in Tianyu Empire. He didn't know if the Lanhua family had such power and influence because of the Lanhua jade. It was said that he had left home at a young age and was taken away by a powerful expert a long time ago. He didn't return to the Lanhua family until he became an adult and could practice. Judging from the aura of this group of people, they seemed to come from a very powerful place. And it seemed that they were not inferior to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin in the slightest. They were even much stronger than the latter. When Luo Qingtong saw Yan Yuju and the others, the latter and the others also noticed her. Who is it? The group of people swept over to her. Seeing their movements, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed and she raised her hand to put away the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face. Chapter 993. Her movements were extremely fast, and because she came out from the forest, Yan Yuju and the others did not see her appearance, nor did they know that she was wearing the Rakshasa ghost mask. Miss Luo. Yan Yuju brought people forward, only to find that the person opposite was actually someone familiar. Young Master Yan Yu. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She was not surprised that Yan Yuju would recognize her. Presumably, old Master Yan Yu told him. However, Yan Yuju was still a reliable person. Luo Qingtong did not care that the other party knew her identity. In any case, she was not afraid of her identity being exposed now. The reason why she was still hiding it was just a subconscious action. It was always right to have more trump cards. Why did she have to deliberately flip everything over for others to see? Luo Qingtong liked to see the expressions of those who looked down on her when they finally realized that they had kicked an iron plate. It could be considered her bad taste. I didn't expect it to be you. The light in Yan Yuju's eyes was pleasantly surprised. Why are you here? When he said this, as if afraid that Luo Qingtong would misunderstand, he hurriedly said, "It's very dangerous here. Did you come alone?" Yan Yuju knew that Luo Qingtong was very powerful. When she was a martial king, she had once killed a martial emperor powerhouse of the Tianyu imperial family. However, the latter was injured at that time. Moreover, this was the depths of the mountain range near the main city of the Black Field. Demonic beasts were everywhere, and their strength was tyrannical. Powerhouses below the martial emperor realm did not dare to enter at all. Only powerhouses above the martial emperor realm dared to enter together. Yan Yuju also glanced around and found that there was no one secretly following and protecting Luo Qingtong. That was why she asked this question. Didn't they say that the Blackfields Ming Zun was in love with Luo Qingtong? Why didn't they send someone to guard her? It seemed that the previous rumors, as her grandfather said, were false. For some reason, when she thought of this, Yan Yuju's heart unconsciously surged with traces of joy. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice and did not say anything else. At this moment, a girl in a pink robe beside Yan Yuju suddenly said, "Senior brother, you know her? Who is she?" Song Yan stared enviously at the young lady before her, who was so beautiful that she could topple cities. Especially since the other party seemed to be very familiar with Yan Yuju, it made her even more jealous. Thinking back to the last time Yan Yuju went home to visit her relatives, she kept mentioning a Miss Luo. It couldn't be this person in front of her, right? At the thought of this, Song Yan looked at Luo Qingtong with displeasure. "You're just a martial emperor. Why are you alone in the depths of this mountain range?" Chapter 994. Why, are you afraid that we'll covet your things? As she spoke, she sneered coldly. What a joke. But you really don't have the right to have such good things. That beast-tide riot was still vivid in their minds. It was not something that could be compared to an ordinary beast tide. They had stayed in the safe zone for a long time until just now when the beast tide started to retreat. They then followed the tracks and chased over. If there really was a treasure, it would be a waste for the other party to get it. They might as well give it to them. As for her, on account of senior brother Yanhua, they would just give her some money and resources to send her off. Anyway, for someone of her strength, to be able to get some resources from their own sect, she would probably go crazy with joy. Song Yan thought and said proudly, "How about this? What did you get? Show it to us. If it's good, we'll give you a suitable price. So that you won't get into trouble because of your wealth." Her words were very arrogant and bossy. It was as if her snatching Luo Qingtong's things was a huge favor to the latter. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong did not get anything at all. Even if she got it, she would not show it to them. Luo Qingtong's gaze was cold. She was about to speak when Yan Yuju's face darkened. "Junior sister Yan, what do you mean? Miss Luo is my friend. Whatever she got, that was her business. It has nothing to do with us." As he spoke, he apologized to Luo Qingtong. "Miss Luo, I'm sorry. Junior sister is rude." Before he could finish his sentence, Song Yan, who was standing on the other side of the room, had already cried out in dissatisfaction. "Senior brother Yanhua, what do you mean? Because of this woman, you're lecturing me." Song Yan had been spoiled rotten in the sect. This time when she went out, all the senior and junior brothers gave in to her. Being lectured by Yan Yuju without warning, she could not hold back the anger in her heart. Besides, she did not like Luo Qingtong to begin with. Glaring fiercely at Luo Qingtong, Song Yan said coldly, "I didn't say I was going to snatch her things. I just wanted her to show it to us. I'll buy it." "Why? Can't I do that?" She raised her head. As soon as these self-righteous words came out, Yan Yuju's expression instantly turned completely cold. Taking other people's things were her own and she still asked them if it was okay. He didn't know how to face Luo Qingtong after hearing her say such things. If he had known that the end result, he would not have brought them to Luo Qingtong. At this moment, a crisp and beautiful voice suddenly rang out. "Aya, look what I just saw. How shameless. Some people are so self-righteous when they snatch other people's things. How shameless. Big sister, How old are you? And you? I have some rubbish here. Do you want it? I can give it to you for free. Chapter 995. Luo Qingtong looked at Song Yan's ashen face and raised her eyebrows. She crossed her arms and watched the show. Ha ha ha. Yu Xingqi carried the little white cat and ran to Luo Qingtong's side. He made a face at Song Yan and said, "What, are you angry? You're shameless and won't let others say it. If you have the ability, go to the southern mountain range and settle the score with me. I'm called Yu Xingqi. My brother is called Yu Xihuang. You're welcome to find trouble." Yu Xingqi didn't hesitate to sell out his brother. He didn't know if Yu Xihuang would be angered to death here. Every time this girl caused trouble outside, she would throw it to him to wipe her ass. But in Yu Xingqi's opinion, wasn't his brother used to be sold out? That's right, he was also used to support her. Seeing Song Yan's expression change, Yu Xingqi nodded in satisfaction. The title of stupid brother was still very useful. Yu Xingqi's self-introduction made Song Yan's expression very ugly. She originally wanted to teach Yu Xingqi a lesson. But now that the latter had revealed his identity, it wasn't good for her to do anything. After all, although her sect didn't fear Yu Xihuang, the latter was still the king of the southern mountain range. If she went against him because of such a small matter, she would definitely be scolded by her elders when she returned. Thinking of this, Song Yan's heart became even more sullen. She fiercely looked at Luo Qingtong and Yu Xingqi. Then, she looked at Yan Yuju, who was looking at her angrily. She immediately stomped her feet and angrily turned to leave. Junior sister. The group of people behind Yan Yuju quickly chased after her, but he didn't move. Miss Luo, I'm sorry for just now. Yan Yuju looked at Luo Qingtong with an apologetic expression. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. If he knew that Song Yan would have such an attitude towards Luo Qingtong, he would have led her away from the beginning. He definitely wouldn't let Luo Qingtong suffer such humiliation. My junior sister is used to being willful. I will definitely teach her a lesson later. He said to Luo Qingtong, "Do you need me to send you out?" "No need, it's fine." Luo Qingtong nodded at him and smiled faintly. If it wasn't for Yan Yuju, Song Yan definitely wouldn't have left so easily. Luo Qingtong was never a person who would let others step on her head and behave atrociously without fighting back. If Song Yan thought that she was a pushover, she was gravely mistaken. You could say that she was vengeful or not magnanimous enough, but Luo Qingtong would not let herself suffer, not to mention that Song Yan was the one who was looking for trouble. Luo Qingtong didn't say too much to Yan Yuju and bid him farewell. Yan Yuju had no choice. She originally wanted to invite Luo Qingtong to travel with them. But now that something like this had happened, both sides were in an awkward situation. Chapter 996. I'm not your sister-in-law. Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block the person in front of her. Don't call me that in the future, or I won't be polite to you. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint, but the threat and coldness in it couldn't be ignored. Yi Qianxian was jealous because of Yu Xihuang's matter last time. If Yu Xingqi's words were heard by him, and he investigated, that scene was too beautiful, Luo Qingtong didn't dare to think about it. Most importantly, she didn't want Yi Qianxian to be unhappy. Why? Yu Xingqi blinked her eyes, puzzled. Look at how handsome my brother is. Okay, he's beautiful, but he's not effeminate. And you see, he's also the king of the southern territory. He has strength, he has power, how good is that? Yu Xingqi followed behind Luo Qingtong, listing the benefits of her brother. She had the attitude of a senior seller. The only thing he didn't do was to sell Yu Xihuang by his weight. Not interested. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and she continued to walk forward. You really don't want to think about it. Yu Xingqi caught up with her pace, unwilling to give up. My brother is really good. She nodded her head. You won't lose anything if you marry him. Marry? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the cute little loli beside her. This little girl's words were really shocking. She tried so hard to promote her brother, just to let her marry him. Yes. Yu Xingqi nodded her head with a serious face. Wait until you marry him, then I can go back and be the sect master. She said with a smiling face looking at Luo Qingtong, you see, isn't this very good? You'll get a peerless beauty as your husband. I'll get the imperial sect and become the queen of the southern territory. How good is that? Your brother can't be considered a peerless beauty. If it was, then it should be Yi Qianxian. But, this is the reason why you're promoting your brother to me. Yes, other people can't suppress him. Yu Xingqi's eyes turned, with a sly face. When she heard that Yu Sihuang liked the evil Dr. Gui Tong, she hurriedly left a letter and left. It was all for the sake of helping that stupid brother of his win over the beauty. However, she looked at Luo Qingtong and sighed heavily. AI. This person's as people, but she didn't want to accept her stupid brother. Her dream of being the queen was broken. Luo Qingtong was amused by Yu Xingqi's behavior. Yu Sihuang's little sister is really interesting. She actually found her sister-in-law to marry her brother off. Luo Qingtong suddenly sympathized with Yu Sihuang. What should she do? She smiled and said to Yu Xingqi, what are you sighing for? Of you. Suppress your brother's imperial sect and become the queen of the southern region. She teased Yu Xingqi. I also want to. But isn't that too troublesome? I'm lazy. Wouldn't it be better if I directly become the sect master? Unfortunately, I can't beat my brother. Yu Xingqi said. She suddenly tilted her head and smiled at Luo Qingtong. Then if you don't want to be my sister-in-law, can you be my sister? She said, then jumped up and said, then it's settled. You can be my sister. This way, if Yu Sihuang bullied her again, wouldn't she have a chance to bully him back? Yu Xingqi giggled as he thought. She will have a backer in the future. Moreover, Luo Qingtong's aura was domineering. Yu Xingqi really liked her. Although she followed her to find a bride for Yu Sihuang, but since Luo Qingtong didn't want to be her brother's bride, being her sister is also not bad. Chapter 997. Luo Qingtong raises her eyebrows and looks at her. I thought you should be more worried about whether or not I would kill you to hide my identity. When Luo Qingtong speaks, the smile in Yu Xingqi's eyes suddenly stiffens. Her eyes flash with a trace of panic, and then she tries her best to calm down. You won't, right? I have my brother's senses on me. It's not wise for you to go against him. Yu Xingqi's heart is indeed a little scared. Although she is cunning, black-bellied, and somewhat evil. But she knows who to provoke, and who not to provoke. Luo Qingtong definitely belongs to the group of people who cannot be provoked. These people will absolutely do whatever they say, regardless of the consequences. Before she knew that Luo Qingtong is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, she only felt that this girl who rose from a low-level country is somewhat interesting. When she was in the heavenly evil group, although she followed Su Xiaoxiao and called her boss, she didn't really care. But when she knew that Luo Qingtong is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was completely different. The latter is her idol. Yu Xingqi really didn't expect that Luo Qingtong can win against the people of the Silver Sword. After Luo Qingtong led the people of the Silver Sword away, she thought that Luo Qingtong would run away after that. But who would have thought that she would actually kill them all? My God! Before Yu Xingqi came, she saw the fate of the people of the Silver Sword. That Silver Sword elder is a Saint Realm expert, but he also died. Although he was injured before, and Luo Qingtong used some unknown method to attract the beast tide, but that is not the reason why Luo Qingtong can kill a Saint Realm expert. In short, Luo Qingtong is very, very powerful. And her methods are very ruthless. Yu Xingqi is really afraid that she will make a move against her. Thinking of this, she suddenly becomes very uneasy and says to Luo Qingtong, "Really, it's not worth it for you to make a move against me. I promise I won't tell my brother about you, okay?" Seeing her like this, Luo Qingtong had a faint smile on her face. She originally only wanted to scare Yu Xingqi. She generally wouldn't make a move on people who didn't threaten her. Moreover, Yu Sihuang was not her enemy. Luo Qingtong didn't care whether the other party knew her identity or not. However, it would be best if there was less trouble. After all, Yi Qianxian was still jealous. Thinking of this, she said with a calm expression, "All right, remember what you said. Let's go." Good. Yu Xingqi immediately became happy. Oh my God, I've escaped death. She patted her chest and hurriedly followed Luo Qingtong. Seeing her like this, Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curled up. She suddenly thought of little Lucky. The latter was about the same age as Yu Xingqi, but he was not as eccentric as Yu Xingqi. He was very pure and harmless. Luo Qingtong hasn't seen him since the last time she detoxified him. She heard that the Langyue aristocratic family originally wanted to send him to the Tianyu Branch Academy, but for some reason, it didn't happen. It is said that he was taken away by someone. Because it was related to the Langyue aristocratic family's family matters, Luo Qingtong didn't ask much. With the Langyue clan's old man and Yan Yuju's love for him, the place where the little boy went should be beneficial to him. Unfortunately, when she saw Yan Yuju just now, she originally wanted to ask, but because of his junior sister, she forgot. Forget it, there will be another chance. Chapter 998. Master. After entering the main city of the Black Field, Luo Qingtong left Yu Xingqi in the city lord's manor and had someone watch over him. Soon after, she went to Yen Yang and the others. Seeing the young lady appear with the Rakshasa mask, Yen Yang and the others all knelt down to pay their respects. Luo Qingtong nodded her head and directly walked past them into the main hall. She asked, "What is the matter?" Yen Yang had already had the others withdraw. Hearing this, she immediately replied, "It's about what Master wanted us to pay attention to. There's news regarding the heavenly divine doctor." Oh. Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly brightened. "You've investigated her identity?" "No." Yen Yang shook her head. "However, we have investigated. That heavenly divine doctor should be someone from Great Yong. Furthermore, she is definitely related to Great Yong's imperial family." As she spoke, she narrated the information that she and the others had investigated. That heavenly divine doctor places great importance on the concealment of her identity. Furthermore, she is extremely cautious. She almost did not leave behind any information or traces that can be investigated. However, from the people that she mobilized, we can see that she should be related to Great Yong's imperial family. Speaking of which, this was all due to Luo Qingtong's efforts. Last time, she had fiercely insulted Feng Luan and Great Chu. The latter had almost suffered a great loss. She had abandoned her personal maidservant and had even been pursued by the experts of the Black Field. If it were not for the wisp of smoke in her body, she would have been caught on the spot and exposed. However, it was also because of this that she had hastily mobilized many people, revealing the strength that only Great Yong's imperial family could mobilize. This allowed Yen Yang and the people of the Black Field to find some clues. Especially Yen Yang, who had come into contact with people of all trades. She was also a person who knew how to act and speak well. It was very easy for her to analyze what she wanted from the words of others. Therefore, she immediately contacted Luo Qingtong after finding out some clues about the heavenly doctor's identity. As Luo Qingtong valued Luo Qingtong's identity very much, she didn't explain it in the message. Instead, she asked Luo Qingtong to come to the Blackfield's main city and personally explain it to Luo Qingtong. Great Yong. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. It was actually someone from Great Yong. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. If she remembered correctly, Feng Yuan and the Seventh Lord had come to the Chu's sacred capital after the Heavenly Doctor's failure at the Great Chu's sacred dynasty. They were openly plotting for the throne of the Great Chu. Could the other party be that Heavenly Doctor Divine Hand? Chapter 999. If Feng Yuan was really related to the Divine Doctor, and the art of seizing fate in King Wu's body was caused by the latter, then Luo Qingtong couldn't help but suspect that there was something fishy about Feng Yuan's identity as the first princess and the first genius of Great Yong. She would know it by looking at the situation of the descendants of the Great Yong royal family. Luo Qingtong thought so and suddenly smiled. She gave the list of medicinal materials she brought to Yen Yang and asked them to collect the materials according to the contents. There were not many kinds of medicinal materials in it, only 2 or 3 kinds, but they were not easy to collect. Luo Qingtong could let Ma Chenyi look for them, but it was just a few medicinal materials, which were not particularly precious. If he couldn't collect them after a long time, it would be troublesome. Therefore, when she came to the Black Field this time, she asked Yen Yang and others to do it. In this way, solving the problem of Ma Chenyi's art of seizing fate could be put on the agenda as soon as possible. After all, Luo Qingtong did not intend to stay in the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin for a long time. She had asked around and found out that the grand event that was going to happen soon was related to the hidden world. Luo Qingtong would inevitably win the first place in the conference and enter the hidden world to find the whereabouts of her parents. Therefore, the matter of Ma Chenyi could only be solved sooner rather than later. What's more, it was better to get rid of people like King Wu as soon as possible, so as not to leave him to annoy her. Thinking that King Wu once wanted to take her as a female slave, Luo Qingtong felt a burst of disgust. Not to mention that the divine doctor behind King Wu was related to Feng Yuan. Then, she couldn't let him go. Luo Qingtong didn't stay in the Black Field for long. After Yen Yang collected those medicinal materials, she left the Black Field and returned to the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yu Xingqi naturally followed her. When the two rushed back to the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, in the encampment of the Dragon Regiment in the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, Mo Qinxian looked coldly at his subordinates in front of him. Are you saying that Yuan Mo and Su Jinhua can't be cured? He narrowed his eyes. He had guessed that Yuan Mo might not be able to cure him. The cold air that erupted from the latter's body was too strong. Yuan Mo's soul imprint spirit body was as strong as the backlash from the cold qi was. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that if this cold qi was not removed, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. There was no such thing as a soul imprint, spirit body, or future powerhouse. He might not even be able to use half of his strength, and every day he lived a life worse than death. At this moment, the people of the Empire of Qin finally understood why Yuan Ma was so determined to not break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. As soon as he lost the bet with Luo Qingtong, the cold qi in his body erupted. No one believed that this matter had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. However, no one knew how Luo Qingtong did it. He could only guess that it had something to do with their engagement tokens. Later, someone revealed that Yuan Ma was born with a cold disease and almost couldn't survive, let alone be able to cultivate. The reason why he was able to become a genius powerhouse in these years was entirely because of his engagement with Luo Qingtong. He was afraid that the engagement token had played a big role in it. The cold qi in Yuan Ma's body was not completely removed because of the engagement token. They were afraid that there would be a cure after he married Luo Qingtong. That was why he was determined not to break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. Everyone guessed so and suddenly despised Yuan Ma. Chapter 1000. As it turned out, the role model and genius was nothing more than a facade. The real Yuanma was so disgusting, and the imperial family was worse than pigs and dogs. Their entire family was ungrateful. Some people even found out that the reason why Tianyu's imperial family was annihilated by evil Dr. Ghostai was not because they had offended evil Dr. Ghostai, so evil Dr. Ghostai took revenge and annihilated the entire imperial family. Instead, it was because Tianyu's imperial family repeatedly attacked the Luo family and Luo Qingtong. Evil Dr. Gue Tong had a relationship with the Luo family, so he acted out of anger and exterminated the imperial family. Yuan Shua and the Empress' actions were exposed one by one. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation, feeling that Tianyu's imperial family should be exterminated. Luo Qingtong could be said to be their benefactor. She saved Yuanma, set up an engagement with him, and made him a genius. But in the end, she was so disdainful. And because Yuan Shua didn't like Luo Qingtong as her imperial sister-in-law, she joined forces with the Luo family's concubine daughter to attack Luo Qingtong. Her methods were so vicious that it was shameful. Tianyu's imperial family was unfair. Yuanma clearly knew that his family didn't like Luo Qingtong and the Luo family, but he didn't say a word for them. He even forbade them from canceling their engagement with him, almost pushing Luo Qingtong and the Luo family to their deaths. Such selfish and sinister thoughts. Although he didn't directly attack Luo Qingtong and the Luo family, he was more hateful than anyone else. Because if it wasn't for him, Luo Qingtong and the Luo family wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble. Immediately, those who thought that Luo Qingtong's methods were too vicious shut their mouths. Yuanma had only himself to blame for his fate. Not to mention, Luo Qingtong didn't do anything to him. She only took back the Luo family's kindness. What he was suffering now was entirely caused by the illness in his body. What did it have to do with Luo Qingtong? It was already good enough that the girl didn't kick him when he was down. Besides, because of his engagement with Luo Qingtong, Yuan had enjoyed so many years of glory and glory. Now that he had been beaten back to his original state, he should be satisfied. For a moment, no one spoke up for Yuanma. Everyone was the same. They were all trash. As for Su Deheng's side, after making a ruckus about wanting to convict Luo Qingtong of the crime of harming a fellow disciple of the same sect, after hearing the rumors that had spread through the heavenly hall, their faces turned ugly and they ceased their ruckus. After all, even if this matter went to the ends of the earth, the elders of the Holy Institute wouldn't be able to do anything to Luo Qingtong. This wasn't Luo Qingtong's fault at all. What was there to punish? Therefore, Mo Chenxian had a premonition that Yuanma had been disabled. However, because he had won Su Deheng's support, he didn't particularly care about Yuanma's disability. After all, the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin didn't lack powerhouses, and his subordinates didn't lack geniuses either. However, he couldn't figure out why Su Jinyue's illness couldn't be cured. The illness in Su Jinyue's body suddenly broke out and was extremely disgusting. However, it didn't mean that Su Jinyue had been cured before. Why couldn't she be cured now? Chapter 1001. Tong, who hesitated for a moment before asking in a low voice, "Your Highness, I wonder if the expert you know will be able to solve it. If he can, he might be able to make the master of the Soul Institute follow you wholeheartedly." Tong Hu and the others knew that Mo Chenxian had an extremely brilliant alchemist behind him. If they could contact the alchemist and ask him to cure Su Jinyue, the master of the Soul Institute would be very grateful and help His Highness fight for the position of the Crown Prince. However, Mo Chenchuan's face darkened at the mention of this. Don't mention it again. How could he not want to get in touch with that heavenly doctor? But for some reason, the latter seemed to have suddenly disappeared. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't contact him. He did not know if there was something wrong with the skill of seizing luck in his body and what had happened to Ma Chenyi. However, it did not matter. Anyway, He had absorbed most of the power of Ma Qianye's bloodline. Even if he could not absorb any more, he was confident that he could break through to a higher level than Ma Qianye before the grand competition. By then, the latter's position of the crown prince and the throne of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would have to be given up. Thinking of this, Mo Qianxian sneered. He might be worrying for nothing. What could Ma Qianye do with the pitiful dragon energy in his body? He was already lucky to be able to maintain his strength and not drop. In this world, no one could stop him from reaching the top. As for Luo Qintong, Mo Qianxian narrowed his eyes and thought of the girl's charm on the stage. Once he had absolute power and strength, would he still be afraid that the other party wouldn't fall into his hands? Although she was a little unruly, it was more interesting to tame a stubborn wild horse, wasn't it? However, before that, he had to deal with Yi Luo. Thinking of how Yi Luo protected Luo Qintong and the supreme holy token in his hand, Mo Qinshuan's face turned cold. Yi Luo was the only hidden danger in his heart. Luo Qintong was Yi Luo's last student, and Luo Qintong was on good terms with Ma Qianye. If that Yi Luo helped Ma Qianye, with the power of the supreme holy token in his hands, even if he was more powerful than Ma Qianye, he would not be able to obtain the position of crown prince. After all, that was the supreme holy token that could influence the decision of a transcendent saint. Thinking of this, Mo Qianxian was indescribably upset. If he had known that Yi Luo had the supreme sacred token, he definitely wouldn't have jumped out to protect the Soul Institute's head teacher. Even if he wanted to help Yi Luo out of his predicament, he would never step on Yi Luo. He had really miscalculated. As he thought about it, he asked, "Have you found out who Yi Luo is and who the supreme sacred token in his hand belongs to?" "No." Tong Hu and the others shook their heads. "We've asked everyone in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, but no one knows the background and identity of Chief Instructor Yi Luo. I only know that he was suddenly appointed by the Grand Principal. Before this, there were no signs at all. Your Highness, do you think this is just a smokescreen set up by the Grand Principal? You also know that the Grand Principal is very protective of Luo Qintong and the others. Because of his identity, he can't openly protect Luo Qintong and the others, so he purposely created a chief instructor." Chapter 1002. That person is helping Luo Qintong and the others under the orders of the Grand Dean. If that wasn't the case, why would Chief Instructor Yi Luo care so much about Luo Qintong and the rest? And he even has the Supreme Sacred Badge. With Luo Qintong and the others' background, how could they know such a person? The more Tong Hu and the others spoke, the more they felt it was possible. We're guessing that the Supreme Sacred Badge might have been given to him by the Grand Dean. If that's the case, then Chief Instructor Yi Luo is nothing to be afraid of. After all, with the Grand Dean's status, even if he had the Supreme Sacred Badge, he couldn't interfere with the Crown Prince's affairs. It was even more impossible for him to use the Supreme Sacred Badge to influence the Crown Prince's affairs. Mo Qianxian nodded. He had the same thought, but whether it was true or not, he had to find out more information first. The Supreme Sacred Badges issued by the 4 sacred dynasties were limited. Under such circumstances, it shouldn't be difficult to find out who the one in Yi Luo's hands belonged to. If those people had the Supreme Sacred Badges, then the one in Yi Luo's hands must be the Grand Dean's. This way, he wouldn't have any worries. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly heard Su Diheng's voice from outside. "Your Highness King Wu." Following Su Diheng's voice, the door outside was pushed open from the outside. "Great teacher." Mo Qianxian raised his head to look at Su Diheng, who was striding in. After a period of events, the latter looked very old and dispirited. His eye sockets were deeply sunken, and the 2 eyes that were usually filled with arrogance were now filled with lethargy and gloominess. At this moment, Su Diheng looked like a sinister vulture hiding in the dark. His face was gloomy and cold to the extreme. "Your Highness King Wu, I want you to help me deal with Luo Qingtong. I will fully support you in the fight for the throne. As long as I can contact the elders and ministers, they will fully support you. Not only that, but I can also convince the families behind the many geniuses of my Soul Academy to support you. As long as you help me deal with Luo Qingtong. Su Diheng was like a madman at this moment. His words were incomparably vicious. His face twitched violently, looking extremely ferocious. What's wrong with the Soul Institute's great teacher? Why would you suddenly say that? Seeing him like this, Mo Chinchuan's eyes darkened slightly and then he asked. It was naturally a good thing that Su Diheng was supporting him so wholeheartedly. However, he had to find out the reason why the other party had suddenly changed their attitude towards Luo Qingtong. After all, Su Diheng's hatred for Luo Qingtong had not reached this level before. It was almost as if he had thrown caution to the wind. You is awake. Su Diheng's face darkened. She told me that her poison was most likely caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. At this point, Su Diheng gritted his teeth fiercely. Su Jinue was neither a human nor a ghost now. He only had one daughter, and he could not let her continue to be like this. All the pharmacists said that they could not cure Su Jinue's poison. If it was really caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, then even if he found the alchemist in that place, he might not be able to cure Su Jinue's poison. The only possibility was to ask the evil Dr. Ghost Eye for help. Chapter 1003. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye and Luo Qingtong were old friends, and he had offended Luo Qingtong. How could the latter help Su Jinue detoxify? Su Diheng even thought that the poison in Su Jinue's body might have been induced by Luo Qingtong. After all, at that time, Su Jinue was fine. Suddenly, the human-faced ghost sore on her body broke out. At that time, Su Jinue was confronting Luo Qingtong for him. Thinking of this, Su Diheng's heart suddenly surged with a burst of resentment. I want to deal with Luo Qingtong and let evil Dr. Ghost Eye cure you, That was his only daughter. Since it was impossible for evil Dr. Ghost Eye to cure her, he would force her to do it. Wasn't she helping Luo Qingtong? In that case, he would use the other party to threaten her. Let's see if she was willing to cure her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Mo Chinxian was shocked when he heard this. The poison in Su Jinue's body was actually caused by evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was no wonder that so many people were helpless against the poison in her body. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked. Yu said that she got it when she was in the Blackfield city of Dongli country. She taught a girl with a white veil a lesson, and that person changed the poison on her long whip. I suspect that the young girl she spoke of is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It is said that evil Dr. Ghost Eye is evil and flamboyant. It is hard to tell whether he is a man or a woman. I suspect that Yu has mistaken him for someone else. Su Diheng's face became more distorted when he said this. I must force her to save you, Luo Qingtong and the others are the only breakthrough. If Su Jinue and the others really offended evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was absolutely useless to beg for help. They could only start from another place. And Luo Qingtong was that place. Whether it worked or not, Su Diheng could only try his best. In the entire Saint Academy, the most likely person to help him was Mo Chinxian. But Luo Qingtong is now backed by Mo Chinxian, the Grand President, and Yi Luo. It is not so easy to deal with her, Mo Chinxian looked at him and said. If it was just to target Luo Qingtong's life, Mo Chinxian could certainly use the Dragon Regiment to make trouble for her. But it was useless for Su Diheng. The other party wanted to force Luo Qingtong to the extreme and then make a request for her to ask evil Dr. Ghost Eye to save her. With so many people protecting Luo Qingtong, it was basically impossible for her to do this. What if I say that Luo Qingtong might have cheated in the battle? Su Diheng's face darkened. Regardless of whether Yuan Mo brought this upon himself or not, he cheated in the gambling match and broke the rules of the Saint Court. We can use this to protest and sanction the elders. Even the Grand President can't protect her. As for Yi Luo, Su Diheng sneered. The Supreme Holy Token is not omnipotent. As long as he could get hold of Luo Qingtong's weakness, he could make Yi Luo unable to protect her. Moreover, like Mo Qinxian and the others, he also suspected that the Supreme Holy Token in Dr. Ghost Eye's hand belonged to the Grand President. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. The Grand President recommended a chief instructor, who treated Luo Qingtong differently and had the Supreme Holy Token. And he was a nobody. Humph. Su Diheng sneered. Chapter 1004. He looked at Su Diheng. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked cautiously. This was a big deal. If it was true, it would definitely consign Luo Qingtong to eternal damnation. Perhaps it could also affect the reputation of Ma Chenyi and the Grand Dean. In an instant, countless calculations flashed through Mo Chinchuan's mind. Humph. Su Diheng's face was cold. Yuan Mo is my student, how can I not be sure? His soul seal has a special attribute, it's impossible for anyone to have the same attribute as him. You know about his natural cold air, right? Most of his soul seal's attribute comes from the cold air in his body. So, since Luo Qingtong could use his unique soul skill, she must have cheated. I heard that there is a kind of evil technique that can copy and steal other people's soul seal's attribute. The person whose soul seal's attribute is stolen and copied will have their soul seal's ability collapse. It's very vicious and evil. I suspect that Luo Qingtong used that evil technique to cause the cold air in Mo, or his body to collapse, turning him into a cripple. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? Luo Qingtong used the same soul skill to defeat him, and on the other hand, his old illness broke out. Su Diheng's face was gloomy. It's completely nonsense to say that it's because of the engagement token between them. How powerful is the cold air in Yuan Mo's body and how powerful his talent is, Your Highness King Wu, you have seen it with your own eyes. How could it be suppressed by a mere engagement token? If it's possible, then what kind of powerful treasure would that betrothal token be? As for the person who saved Yuan Mo and left him some leeway to restrain him, how tyrannical are his medical skills and abilities? How could the marquis residents of the Luo family, a lowly country, have such a person? Su Diheng didn't believe that there was such a thing at all. It was also because Yuan Mo was currently immersed in pain that he couldn't speak. He also didn't know what Su Diheng was thinking. Otherwise, he would have definitely told him that this matter existed. However, he didn't know what Su Diheng was thinking, so he didn't know where to start. If what you said is true, then we do have a chance to force Luo Qingtong into a desperate situation. Mo Chinchuan's eyes were gloomy. Luo Qingtong actually used sorcery to defeat Yuan Mo and make him like this. If this was true, then there was a lot to be done. Humph. You can send someone to investigate Luo Qingtong's past. I dare say that she's definitely not an ice attribute soul seal expert. Otherwise, it's impossible that she didn't mention it at all before entering the academy. Su Diheng said resolutely. He was certain that Luo Qingtong had cheated. Luo Qingtong, wait until I find the evidence, I will definitely consign you to eternal damnation. The light in Mo Chinchuan's eyes also brightened. Su Diheng's words could really play a big role for him. The other party wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong, but he wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Ma Chenyi and the highest dean's faction. Great Master, please don't worry. I'll immediately send someone to investigate and collect evidence. At that time, Luo Qingtong will definitely be unable to defend herself and be unable to turn over. He said in a low voice. Okay. Su Diheng nodded. He also knew that there were too many people behind Luo Qingtong, so he couldn't act rashly and alert the enemy. If not, he wouldn't have come to cooperate with Mo Qinxian. Then I'll wait for the good news from King Wu, he said and looked at Mo Qinxian. Chapter 1005. Luo Qingtong didn't know that Mo Qinxian and Su Diheng were discussing how to deal with her. She was currently extorting a confession from Little Pig. Quick, hand over the thing in your hand. Luo Qingtong raised her head and pointed at Little Pig's little head. Ah. What? Little Pig blinked its pair of small beady eyes and pretended to be stupid. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at it. Do you want me to say it clearly? Show me your little hooves. Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig's two little hooves. This guy had been behaving strangely along the way and often peeked at its two little hooves. Originally, Luo Qingtong didn't notice it, but its silly smile was too obvious. Luo Qingtong raised her head and glanced at it, and found that the things on its hooves had changed. In the past, Little Pig loved to show off, and its two favorite storage rings were often on its hooves. Now, one of its hooves had been changed into a jade thumb ring. Luo Qingtong absolutely didn't believe that there was nothing fishy about it. This jade thumb ring was definitely newly obtained, so it was showing off like this. Then here came the question. It had been with her for the past few days, so where did it get this jade thumb ring? Luo Qingtong recalled that Little Pig had revealed its sealed true body and slapped the silver sword elder to death with its paw. Did he get this jade thumb ring from that elder of the silver sword sect? Before Luo Qingtong could finish her words, Little Pig had already hidden its two little hooves behind its back. But as soon as it did this, Little Pig's expression was filled with despair. Ah. Wasn't it obvious that it was trying to hide something? Sure enough, Luo Qingtong crossed her arms in front of her chest and cast a sidelong glance at it with an indifferent expression. Do you want to show it yourself, or do you want me to take it myself? Whoa. Little Pig wailed as he stretched out his little hoof. Luo Qingtong looked at the jade ring on its hoof and asked, Did you get it from the silver sword elder? Humph, Little Pig nodded. I found it when I was photographing him. Even if the silver sword elder was a sage realm expert, he would still be killed by Little Pig's claw. The jade thumb ring didn't break at that time, so Little Pig put it away. He didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would discover his secret stash so quickly. How infuriating. It originally wanted to play for a while and tell Luo Qingtong when it was tired of playing. Luo Qingtong ignored it and focused on looking at the jade thumb ring. The material of the latter was special. It was obviously a treasure that surpassed the sage realm. The aura it emitted was very vast. Luo Qingtong wasn't surprised that the silver sword elder had such a treasure. After all, the latter was a sage realm expert and came from a large sect like the silver sword. If it wasn't for Yu Sihuang exterminating his sect, who knew how glorious it would be? Just look at the elders in their sect. They are all sage realm elders. However, this jade thumb ring gave Luo Qingtong a strange feeling. She didn't pay much attention to it before, but now that Luo Qingtong held the jade thumb ring in her hand, she clearly felt that there was something wrong with its aura. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. In the next second, she raised her hand and pulled. Swish! The jade thumb ring in her hand instantly pulled out a topographic map of mountains and rivers. It turned out that there were two layers of aura on the jade thumb ring, blending with each other. Those who didn't know wouldn't be able to see the mystery. Chapter 1006. Ha! Little Pig's eyes instantly widened when he saw the image on the jade thumb ring. There's actually a map hidden in this jade thumb ring. Little Pig looked at the undulating river on the map with a complicated feeling in his heart. No wonder he felt that this jade thumb ring was different. Although its grade wasn't very high, its aura was very strange. That's why Little Pig kept it. Otherwise, how could he be interested in something in the hands of a Sage Realm expert? He didn't expect that there was actually a map hidden in it. This map seems to be... Little Pig looked at the image on the map and suddenly felt that it was somewhat familiar. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. It's the Far West Wilderness. Luo Qingtong looked at the terrain on the map indifferently. After Su Yu and the others went to the Far West Wilderness, they would report back every once in a while. Luo Qingtong was also clear about the situation in the Far West Wilderness. The map depicted the scene of the Far West Wilderness. However, this was only the outermost map. Luo Qingtong looked at the small map marked in the center. The Sage King's Tomb. Luo Qingtong looked at the words marked on the map. Sage King. What's that? Is there a classification above the Sage Realm? Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned. She hadn't come into contact with this kind of thing yet. In the past, the Luo family was at the bottom of the hierarchy. They could bully and humiliate the Tianyu Empire at will. The things that Luo Qingtong had access to were limited. She only knew that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. However, it wasn't something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Ordinary people only knew about the Sage Realm and those beyond the Sage Realm. They didn't know the specific classification. Luo Qingtong only knew that there was one Sage Transcendence expert. She only learned about it when Yi Qianxian lured the Sage Transcendence expert out of the Great Chu Imperial Palace. She didn't expect that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. Of course there is, Little Pig answered immediately after hearing her question. The realms above the Saint Realm are similar to the Warrior Realm. They are divided into 9 realms: Saint, Saint Master, Saint General, Saint Marquis, Saint King, Saint Emperor, Saint Spirit, and Saint Sovereign. Among them, Saints, Holy Masters, and Holy Generals are known as Transcendents. Saint Marquis, Saint King, and Saint Emperor are known as the Saint Realm. The Holy Emperor, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Sovereign are known as the Supreme Transformation Realm. The Saint Realm Masters you usually talk about are only those who have just broken through to the Saint Realm and have yet to break through to the Transcendent Realm. They haven't had the time to comprehend the power of heaven and earth, so they only know how to use the superficial knowledge. Transcendents, on the other hand, have begun to comprehend the essence of the world energy contained in the world energy. The Saint Realm is the beginning of this realm. The Supreme Transformation Stage means that one has already comprehended the essence of the stage and is preparing to transform the essence of the stage to reach the Supreme Transformation Stage. Little Pig said. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard what Little Pig said. The Supreme Transformation Stage is the Supreme Transformation Stage. Yes. Little Pig nodded. But that's too far away for you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, there won't be such a master on this continent. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Chapter 1007. Outside of it, there was another world that was even more vast and spacious. In that world, the Sage Realm was just the beginning. But within the true Spill continent, those above the Saint Realm were the pinnacle. However, wasn't this more interesting? What people feared the most was not having a goal. In her previous life, Luo Qingtong stood at the apex of the ability user world. It could be said that she was lonely at the top. Because of her curiosity, she stirred up various forces everywhere, causing them to be restless. Wasn't it because she was too bored? But now, it seemed that she wouldn't be so bored in this life. As Luo Qingtong was thinking this, Yu Xingqi's voice suddenly came from not far away. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately withdrew the image of the jade thumb ring. She threw the jade thumb ring back to Little Pig. Take it first. After the matter in the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin is settled, we will go to the Far West Wilderness. The Sage King's tomb was the tomb of a sage realm powerhouse. There must be a lot of good things in there. Since Luo Qingtong obtained this map, she naturally wanted to check it out. Little Pig put away the jade thumb ring. There must be a lot of good things in there. There is also that Sage King. If his soul is still here, he alone will be enough to awaken that little white ball. At that time, it will directly break through to the growth stage. The little white ball that Little Pig mentioned was naturally Snowball. Luo Qingtong nodded. She also had the same idea. Snowball's transformation period was too long. She didn't know if it would be bad for it. If there was an opportunity, Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to help it transform as soon as possible. One person and one pig talked as they walked out of the forest. Yu Xingqi came looking for them. She had just disappeared from Luo Qingtong's sight, so she thought that the latter had left first. Luo Qingtong casually gave a reason, then the two continued to rush back to the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. 2 days later, Luo Qingtong stepped into the gate of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. "Where's your master?" "He's not back yet." Luo Qingtong looked at Feng Yu, who had appeared in the courtyard upon seeing her return. She immediately raised her eyebrows. Yi Qianxian left the day before she left. Luo Qingtong still remembered his ugly expression when he received the news. She didn't know who made him so angry. It must be known that Luo Qingtong rarely saw any obvious changes in Yi Qianxian's expression. Of course, except when she was angry with him. Cough. Feng Yu coughed when she heard Luo Qingtong's question. She said, "Master has some matters to attend to. It might take some time before he comes back." In fact, Yi Qianming wasn't there to deal with matters. He was there to eliminate his love rival. Thinking of the news they had received before, that the king of the southern region had come to the eastern region again, Yi Qianxian was angry on the spot and directly returned to the Black Field. Presumably, the king of the southern region would have a very difficult time in the eastern region. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded and didn't continue to ask. After informing Su Xiaoxiao and the others, she began to refine the medicine for Ma Qinyi in seclusion. The dragon energy in the latter's body had been absorbed too much. If she wanted to reverse it, she had to use the medicine to nourish it. Otherwise, once she used the reversal technique, she would not be able to bear it. It would be strange if Mo Qinxian didn't devour it. At that time, it would help the latter. Chapter 1008. A group of travel-worn girls suddenly appeared in the medicine garden of the Empire of Qin. "Senior sister. Senior sister." Seeing the group of girls enter the medicine garden, the students of the medicine garden were all very happy and gathered around. "The senior sisters of the Qin Wei clique are back," everyone said happily. "Yes." At the front of the group of girls was a girl in green. She nodded to everyone and then asked, "What happened in the Sacred Academy recently?" Her complexion didn't look very good. The student who was asked didn't pay any attention to it. He told her everything that had happened in the Sacred Institute recently. The most famous one was naturally Luo Qingtong, the Dragon Clique, and Yuan Mo. "Okay. I got it." After listening to everyone's narration, the girl in green fiercely suppressed the expression on her face and then left with the group behind her. When they returned to the courtyard where they were, bang! The green-clothed girl fiercely slapped the door frame. "Damn it, that Luo Qingtong, His Highness the Crown Prince is actually so protective of her." The green-clothed girl's face was filled with anger. "Is that right? Senior Sister Ran, I didn't say anything wrong, right? That Luo Qingtong has Brother Crown Prince bewitched. If she didn't shamelessly seduce Brother Crown Prince, how could he be bewitched by her? It's really a pity that Sister Qingwei is so devoted to Brother Crown Prince." Mo Yufei added fuel to the fire. She gritted her teeth inwardly. Mo Yufei didn't expect at all. She had only left the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin for a while. So many things had happened in here. Thinking of what she had just heard, that Yuanma was crippled by Luo Qingtong, her heart burned with anger. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, how dare she? Mo Yufei was so angry that her hands were almost twisted into a fried dough twist. She even more fiercely said bad things about Luo Qingtong. Senior Sister Ran, you can't let that woman steal brother Crown Prince away. Humph. She has no chance. Ran's expression was ice cold. She ordered the others. Go, you guys go out and spread the word that our Qing Wei group doesn't like Luo Qingtong. We won't refine pills for anyone from the Heavenly Demon group. The same goes for the Resource Hall of the Holy Academy. We will not refine any of the potions claimed by the Heavenly Demon group. In the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, in order to train the students, the medicinal liquid resources distributed to the students were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Academy. As for the other medicinal materials obtained by the students of the Holy Institute, they had to find the students of the Medicine Institute to refine them. As for the Qingwei group, it was formed purely by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. The green-robed woman's words were obviously meant to cut off the cultivation aid of Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon group. After all, even if he had the resources, he could not refine it into medicinal liquid. In terms of training results, they were much worse than others. Not only that, she also ordered coldly, in addition, tell the people of other forces that if anyone is on good terms with Luo Qingtong and the others, our Qingwei group will not refine the potions for them. And if anyone is willing to go against Luo Qingtong and the others, we will refine the potions for them for free. As soon as Luo Ran said that, Mo Yufei's face instantly rippled with joy and pride. Chapter 10:10. She found out that this matter was related to Ma Qinyi. Moreover, because of the other party's protection, the Qingwei group's people thought that she stole their leader Yu Qingwei's man. Luo Qingtong was speechless. There was nothing between her and Ma Qinyi, okay? However, Luo Qingtong also knew that Ma Qinyi's protection of them was too obvious. She knew what the other party's purpose was, but others might not know. Naturally, they would think in other places. However, that wasn't a reason for the Qingwei group to casually deal with her people. Moreover, the Yu Qingwei wasn't Ma Qinyi's fiancé. She just liked Ma Qinyi. Why would the Qingwei group stand up for her and teach her a lesson? Did they really think that she was easy to bully? Luo Qingtong stood up with a cold face. At this moment, she glanced around and suddenly didn't see Su Xiaoxiao. She immediately asked, "Where's Xiaoxiao? That girl couldn't have done something stupid, right?" Yuanhu and the others were baffled by her question. Suddenly, Ling Yu cried out. Then she quickly looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Oh no, boss, Xiaoxiao might have gone to the Qingwei group to gamble on medicine skills. Last time she said that she wanted the Qingwei group to take back their words. The Qingwei group's people were targeting Luo Qingtong. Unless the latter left the Empire of Qin, they would never stop. Then Su Xiaoxiao's only way was to gamble with them and force them to stop. However, how long had it been since Su Xiaoxiao entered the Empire of Qin? Even if her alchemy skills were very strong, the Qingwei group's people weren't weak. Most of them were the top geniuses of the medicine department. Ling Yu's heart became anxious as she thought of this. Yuanhu and the others' hearts also thumped. Let's go to the medicine department to take a look. Luo Qingtong's brows also wrinkled. She knew that Su Xiaoxiao was definitely a top genius among the combat alchemists. However, the latter's talent in alchemy was too unique. Su Xiaoxiao might not lose to those people from the Qingwei group if they were to casually refine pills. But if the medicinal herbs were to be refined, Su Xiaoxiao would lose without a doubt. After all, her alchemy talent was such a fraud. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately led everyone to the pharmaceutical courtyard. At the same time, in the herb garden, Su Xiaoxiao stood in front of the people from the Qing Wei group. She looked nervously at the medicinal liquid in front of her. The latter and the others sneered, "Su Xiaoxiao, stop struggling. Just based on that bit of alchemy skills of yours, how can you possibly be our match? You've lost 2 rounds in a row, and the medicinal liquid you concocted is even worse than trash. There's even an incomplete medicinal liquid. Are you really a genius specially recruited by the Grand Principal? I heard that the great teacher has the intention to train you." Sure enough, it's good to be associated with the Crown Prince. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin and be taken care of by the instructors. The people from the Qing Wei group looked at the girl in front of them with disdain. In their opinion, Su Xiaoxiao's talent in alchemy was so bad that she couldn't even be called an alchemist. It was ridiculous that such a person could enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin. Previously, she heard that Luo Qingtong was specially treated by the Grand Principal and was admitted into the academy because she managed to hook up with the Crown Prince. Not only that, even the people around her were specially recruited. Chapter 10-11. Now, this Su Xiaoxiao looked like trash at first glance. They really didn't know why the head of the Pharmaceutical Institute had agreed to accept her. It was said that he had wanted to accept her as his last student, but Su Xiaoxiao had rejected him. When the Qing Wei Society saw Su Xiaoxiao's performance, they only treated these words as a joke. What they didn't know was that Su Xiaoxiao's talent and power didn't lie in the fixed content of refining medicine. Yes. Su Xiaoxiao admitted that she had indeed been trash before. She didn't think that she was a genius who could look down on others. But these people insulted boss. This was absolutely not. All of you, shut up. The girl who had always been soft and weak like a little white rabbit spoke in a small voice. Even when she quarreled with others, she would cry first. But now, she was as angry as a fighting bull. She looked at the people of the Qing Wei Society with red eyes. "You can talk about me, but you're not allowed to scold my boss." "Humph. So what if we scold her?" "Boss? You're such a trash boss. You can imagine what kind of trash Luo Qingtong is. Seducing His Highness the Crown Prince. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong hooking up with His Highness the Crown Prince, how could someone like Su Xiaoxiao enter the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin?" When the people of the Qing Wei Society thought this, their expressions became more and more disdainful. Su Xiaoxiao was so angry that her whole body trembled. At this moment, Luo Yi suddenly withdrew his hand. "Done." She raised her eyebrows and said coldly. In front of her, a bottle of medicinal liquid that had already been refined was lying there quietly. Seeing that bottle of medicine, Su Xiaoxiao suddenly bit her lip. The medicine in front of her was only half refined. Time was up. She was going to fail again. "Boss, I'm sorry. I'm so useless," Su Xiaoxiao said. Tears were about to fall from her eyes. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside her. "Who said you're useless?" Luo Qingtong appeared beside Su Xiaoxiao. She raised her hand to hold Su Xiaoxiao's hand and looked at the people from the Qing Wei group with a hint of anger in her eyes. Then, she said to Su Xiaoxiao coldly, "Close your eyes and feel it with your heart." As she spoke, a bloody light flashed in her eyes. In an instant, her spiritual power connected with Su Xiaoxiao. In an instant, Su Xiaoxiao saw a very wonderful scene in her mind. In the medicinal liquid before her, there were all sorts of different medicinal liquid compositions. Yellow, green, and blue, Su Xiaoxiao didn't recognize the colors of the various medicinal liquids. However, she could sense the aura contained within those colorful spots of light. Luo Qingtong's eye ability was different from the soul imprint of this world. The soul imprint in this world was unique. Other than the soul bearer himself, it could not be used by anyone else. However, Luo Qingtong's ocular ability was different. She could share it with others through a spiritual power connection. However, that was only possible if the other party had complete trust in her, and completely opened up her heart, mind, and even soul to her, allowing her spiritual power to enter. Luo Qingtong was now using her spiritual power to connect with Su Xiaoxiao. She shared the world she saw with her bloody eyes with Su Xiaoxiao. She could see the various ingredients in the medicinal liquid clearly. Su Xiaoxiao, I told you before that there is no absolute genius in this world. There is only one heart that is willing to become a genius. Feel the aura of the ingredients in these medicinal liquids carefully. Merge them. Chapter 10-12. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. The drawbacks of Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent were very obvious. She was born slower than others in sensing the composition of the medicinal liquid. She was also not sensitive to the degree of fusion of the medicinal liquid. Therefore, her success rate in alchemy was so low. At the same time, what others could do in half the time, she had to use twice or even several times the time to succeed. The level of the medicinal liquid after success was still so low. But her control over the fusion of the medicinal liquid was the strongest. She could stabilize the composition of the medicinal liquid many times. It could be said that Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent could be the best waste, but it could also be the best genius. Luo Qingtong now wanted to remove all the drawbacks of her alchemy talent. She took her to feel the obvious differences of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid. Improve her sensitivity to the composition of the alchemy and let her transform into a real alchemy genius. Yes. Su Xiaoxiao nodded heavily. She knew how shocking it was for Luo Qingtong to do all this to her. To be able to help others see the difference of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid, what kind of terrifying thing was this? Why were alchemists, spiritual array masters, and weapon refiners so noble and rare? It was because there were too few people with such talent. Martial artists could have strength by practicing martial arts and cultivation methods. Soul practitioners could develop the soul seal in their body and have unique strength. But alchemists, spiritual array masters, weapon refiners, and so on, had no way to do it. If you had the talent, you had it. If you didn't have the talent, you couldn't understand it. Just based on this, Luo Qingtong could nurture countless alchemists. Su Xiaoxiao's eyes were shining. She closed her eyes and felt the different compositions of the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong took her to see. Just as she was immersed in the fusion and aura of the different medicinal liquid, Luo Iran and the others sneered, deliberately mystifying. It was absolutely impossible for Su Xiaoxiao to succeed in refining. The other party was like this just now. Within the stipulated time, she couldn't even complete half of the fusion process of the medicinal liquid. How was it possible for him to successfully refine the medicinal liquid in such a short period of time? Mo Yufei even laughed out loud. She had just been watching Su Xiaoxiao make a fool of herself and didn't even bother to mock her. In Mo Yufei's view, people like Su Xiaoxiao were not worth her attention. But now that Luo Qingtong appeared, Mo Yufei couldn't hold back anymore. It was this woman who had crippled Yuan Mo. Thinking of the time when she went to see Yuan Mo, the latter's body was covered with frost and he couldn't move at all. Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong as if she had been dipped in poison. As a princess of the royal family, since she had fallen in love with Yuan Mo, she naturally truly liked him. Who would have thought that the latter would end up like this? Now, the engagement between Yuan Mo and Luo Qingtong was annulled. However, Yuan Mo was also crippled. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for her to be with Yu Wenmo. If that was the case, it would have been better if Yu Wenmo and Luo Qingtong hadn't annulled the engagement. At that time, Mo Yufei didn't take Luo Qingtong seriously at all. She had already made up her mind long ago. With her identity as a princess of the royal family of the Empire of Qin, as long as she insisted on marrying Yu Wenmo, even if the latter was engaged, she would still be the main wife. At that time, Luo Qingtong could only be a concubine. What threat could she pose to her? Chapter 10:13. Mo Yufei wrung her hands fiercely and looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. Luo Qingtong didn't bother to pay attention to her at all. All her attention was on Su Xiaoxiao at this moment. The latter's refining speed was getting faster and faster. Her technique was also getting more and more accurate. In the past, Su Xiaoxiao's refining technique was already fast enough because of her amazing talent. But now, her technique was even faster. After seeing the different components of the medicinal liquid, Su Xiaoxiao's talent for controlling the fusion of medicinal liquids was completely revealed. Su Xiaoxiao felt that she had never been so relaxed and smooth. The omnipresent feeling of obstruction when refining medicine in the past had all disappeared. She felt that her fingers had almost turned into a series of afterimages. The next second, after Luo Yiran packed up, when the time was up, her voice sounded. "I'm done too." Along with Su Xiaoxiao's voice. Her fingers, which had almost turned into afterimages, suddenly stopped. Then, a ball of medicinal liquid appeared in her palm. Swish! The ball of medicinal liquid was poured into the jade bottle in front of her. The disdain on the faces of the people of the Qingwei group instantly stiffened. They looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in Su Xiaoxiao's hand. Everyone could see that the medicinal liquid refined by Su Xiaoxiao was much stronger than the one refined by Luo Yiran. There was no need for a selection at all. Su Xiaoxiao had already won this round. How is this possible? Luo Yiran's confident expression suddenly changed. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in Su Xiaoxiao's hand. How was this possible? Su Xiaoxiao was obviously going to lose. How could she refine the medicinal liquid so quickly? It was as if her talent had suddenly soared in an instant. But how was this possible? A person's talent was fixed. It was absolutely impossible for there to be any change. Not to mention a temporary improvement. Luo Yiran would not be surprised if Su Xiaoxiao came to her for alchemy and won against her after she improved her strength in the future. However, right in front of her, Su Xiaoxiao had won the battle that she was bound to lose. This made her feel extremely incredulous. The other person who couldn't believe it was Mo Yufei. She had just been laughing at Luo Qingtong, laughing at her for overestimating herself and thinking that Su Xiaoxiao would win by saying a few words, but in the end, Su Xiaoxiao really won. Mo Yufei was so angry that she snapped the horsewhip in her hand in half. However, because he used too much strength, his fingernails were knocked away. He was in so much pain that he gasped for breath, and his face was distorted. However, the surrounding crowd had a different thought. It turned out that it wasn't that Su Xiaoxiao didn't have talent, but that her performance wasn't stable. Now that he had been forced to the extreme, he had erupted. In that case, the Grand Principal didn't recruit her because of the rumors of a single person ascending to the heavens. Then, was it the same for Yuan Hu and the others? If that was the case, they had wronged Luo Qingtong and the others. However, the people from the Qingwei group felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They had just said that Su Xiaoxiao was trash and relied on Luo Qingtong to climb up the crown prince to enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin and become a heaven-grade student. Now, Su Xiaoxiao's talent had erupted and she had won against Luo Yiran in the last round of the medicine refining competition. One had to know that Luo Yiran's medicine refining ability was second only to Yu Qingwei in their medicine courtyard. She had actually lost to Su Xiaoxiao. Even if it was only one round, it proved that Su Xiaoxiao's medicine refining talent wasn't bad and was even better than theirs. Chapter 10:14. The group of people were humiliated by their own words and instantly felt ashamed. Their faces turned purple and their hearts were filled with unspeakable embarrassment. Yuan Hu and the others naturally wouldn't let go of such a great opportunity to ridicule the Qing Wei group. Especially Yuan Hu, who wasn't stingy, he immediately laughed loudly. Yo, didn't you say it quite loudly before? Our Xiao Xiao is trash, I'm really sorry. You guys lost to trash. I think you shouldn't be called Qing Wei group in the future. Just call yourself trash group. This name suits you quite well. Ling Yu added. That's right, or you can call yourself arrogant group. Sima Ju said with a faint expression. There was a hint of mockery on her elf-like face. You. The Qing Wei group's faces turned ugly. At this moment, Mo Yufei's voice sounded. Humph. You just won one round, what's there to be happy about? According to the rules of the bet, 2 out of 3 rounds wins. This time, the Qing Wei group still wins. Su Xiaoxiao can't provide medicine for you anymore. You can laugh as much as you want now. In a few days, you won't even have time to cry and beg us. Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qintong and the others with fire spewing out of her eyes. Senior Sister Luo, let's go, don't lower yourself to their level. They'll suffer after a while. Mo Yufei said as she pulled Luo Iran and the others away. Looking at her leaving figure, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She already knew that the Qing Wei group's actions against her this time were mostly Mo Yufei's doing. This royal princess of the Empire of Qin dynasty was really infatuated with Yuan Mo. For him, she was jealous of Su Jinyue. Not only did she fight with Su Jinyue, but she also dealt with Luo Qingtong in various ways. Since she was so infatuated, Luo Qingtong would fulfill her wish. Luo Qingtong thought as she raised her hand and flicked an aura onto Mo Yufei. This aura was the aura that Luo Qingtong imitated from Yuanma's engagement token jade pendant. The cold qi in Yuanma's body exploded, and he was in great pain. If he felt that Mo Yufei had an aura that could relieve his pain, what would he do? Luo Qingtong's smile was wanton. She was looking forward to the next meeting between Mo Yufei and Yuanma. It would definitely be very passionate. Luo Qingtong brought Su Xiaoxiao and the others back to the Heavenly Demon Group's courtyard. Along the way, Su Xiaoxiao was very excited. She surrounded Luo Qingtong and chattered non-stop. Boss, you're amazing. Su Xiaoxiao's eyes lit up. She looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of worship. Boss is really too awesome. Su Xiaoxiao had never thought that she would one day be able to refine pills so smoothly. Oh my god. She felt that her perception of the composition of the medicinal liquid had increased. She would go back and think about it carefully. Her talent would definitely improve. When the time came for him to refine medicine, he would definitely not be so deceptive anymore. Boss couldn't be more awesome. Luo Qingtong smiled but didn't say anything. She had wanted to help Su Xiaoxiao improve her alchemy talent a long time ago. But she wasn't strong enough before, so she couldn't do such a mental connection. This time, taking advantage of the bet between Su Xiaoxiao and the Qing Wei group, she was able to do it. Su Xiaoxiao's emotions were surging at that time. It was the most intense and angry time, so when her perception was improved, the effect was the best. She also gave the Qing Wei group a slap in the face. Why not? Chapter 10:15. I'll let it go this time, but don't do it again. Su Xiaoxiao nodded guiltily. She was indeed too impulsive this time. Not only did she send herself to be humiliated, but she also caused Boss to be humiliated and ridiculed. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt very guilty in her heart. Just as she was about to say that she was wrong, she heard Luo Qingtong's voice continue to sound. Wait for me. As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, Su Xiaoxiao's eyes instantly lit up. Yes. She replied loudly, her face full of joy and excitement. It turned out that Boss's words just now weren't to reprimand her, but to prevent her from being bullied again. Su Xiaoxiao's heart immediately became happy. And you guys too. Luo Qingtong looked at Yuan Hu and the others. These people went through life and death with her in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, so Luo Qingtong naturally trusted them. She would never allow anyone to bully them. Yes. Yuan Hu and the others also responded happily. What about me? Big sister, what about me? Yu Xingqi hugged the little white cat and leaned in front of Luo Qingtong with a face full of anticipation. Don't you have your brother? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. With her identity, why would she need her protection? Yu Xingqi looked depressed. So angry, I want to sell my stupid brother in exchange for big sister. Every time her stupid brother helped her, he would insult her. How could he be better than big sister? Look at how domineering she is. Yuan Hu and the others saw her like this and immediately laughed. Although they hadn't known Yu Xingqi for long, this little loli was very smart and cute. Although she was a little scheming, she only cheated outsiders. Everyone liked her very much. Ling Yu walked over and hugged Yu Xingqi, comforting her with a smile. The group was very happy. At this moment, Yuan Hu suddenly said, Boss, what do you plan to do about the Qing Wei group? As soon as his words came out, everyone instantly fell silent. The Qing Wei group had gone too far this time. He called on all the people of the Sacred Academy to boycott Luo Qingtong and the others. Now that the Heavenly Demon group was having a hard time in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, they would only become more and more arrogant if they were allowed to do as they pleased. Moreover, Yuan Hu and the others' daily training had been disrupted. This would be detrimental to their future growth in strength. Luo Qingtong was about to speak when suddenly, Sima Ju's voice sounded. Boss, it's the Crown Prince and the others. He pointed ahead as he spoke. Everyone raised their heads and saw a group of people standing at the entrance of the courtyard. Their leader was naturally the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin, Ma Chenyi. The young man was wearing a green gown with white flowers. The white bamboo embroidered on his robe looked indescribably slender and elegant. Paired with his jade-like face, he had an indescribable temperament. Ma Chenyi was here to apologize. He also didn't expect that Mo Yufei would incite the people of Qing Wei group to make trouble. When he found out about this, it was already too late. Luo Qingtong had already confronted the people of Qing Wei group. And Ma Chenyi knew that even if he went to persuade the people of Qing Wei group, it would be useless. This was the holy court of the Empire of Qin, he couldn't use his identity as the Crown Prince to suppress people. Otherwise, Mo Qinchuan's dragon group wouldn't be so arrogant. What's more, the people of Qing Wei group attacked Luo Qingtong precisely because he defended her. If he went to persuade them, the people of Qing Wei group would only become more aggressive. Chapter 10:16. I'm sorry for what happened this time. Ma Chenyi said directly to Luo Qingtong, do you need me to do anything? If necessary, I can use my identity as the Crown Prince to put pressure on the families behind them. Ma Chenyi said simply. Doing so would definitely cause a certain blow to his reputation as the Crown Prince. Moreover, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin clearly stipulated that students and mentors here were not allowed to use other identities and forces to solve disputes. However, what Luo Qingtong faced this time was all because of him. Ma Qingyi could not ignore it. What was more, he had nothing to lose now. If Mo Qinxian became the crown prince, he, as the crown prince, could not escape death sooner or later. Whether for morality or his own selfishness, Ma Qingyi would choose to stand on Luo Qingtong's side. No need. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Ma Qingyi's reaction made her very satisfied. It was not that she had no means to fight back, but she wanted to see Ma Qingyi's attitude. If he stood on the side of the Qingwei clique and asked her to retreat and apologize, or alienate her, then she would rather use another way to deal with Mo Qinxian than help Ma Qingyi to solve the skill of seizing luck in his body. The medicinal liquid that she had refined before to warm his body could also be thrown away. After all, she did not owe Ma Qingyi anything. Since the latter helped her, she would naturally return the favor. If the latter chose to stay away from her, then when she settled accounts this time, she would naturally use his kindness to offset her fault. Luo Qingtong did not like to owe people favors. But she was not a cheap Virgin Mary. There were many ways to deal with Mo Qinxian. She did not have to help Ma Qingyi. Fortunately, the latter's choice made her very relieved. You just don't help either side, Luo Qingtong said. It was child's play for the Qingwei clique to threaten her with medicinal liquid. If they used other ways to deal with her, it would be more troublesome for her to solve it. Medicinal liquid. Luo Qingtong could easily transfer a large number of potions from the black field. She didn't need to be threatened by the other party. However, it would be too boring to solve it like this. What's more, the Saint Academy's matter was settled by the Saint Academy. Luo Qingtong would not break this rule. She naturally had a way to deal with the Qingwei group. All right. Ma Qingyi agreed. Although he didn't know what Luo Qingtong wanted to do, but looking at the way the latter dealt with the dragon group, the Qingwei group shouldn't be able to take advantage of her. This time, the people from the Qingwei group had indeed gone too far. It was good for them to be taught a lesson and suffer some setbacks. As for Qingwei, when she came back, he would have a good talk with her. He believed that this was not her original intention. Ma Qingyi thought and prepared to leave. Luo Qingtong stopped him at this moment. Wait. This is for you, she said and handed over the body-warming medicinal liquid that she had refined in the past few days to Ma Qingyi. Bathe in this medicinal liquid 3 times a day. The interval between baths should not be more than 8 hours. After a month, I will take you to find that person and solve the hidden danger in your body. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Ma Qingyi was stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted. You mean? He excitedly clenched the jade bottle in his hand, looking at Luo Qingtong with a face of disbelief. She couldn't be talking about the person he was thinking about, right? This medicinal liquid was refined for him by the evil Dr. Gui Tong. No matter how Ma Qingyi thought about it, the person Luo Qingtong was talking about should be the evil Dr. Gui Tong. Ahem. I just want you to show some mercy. The Grand Supreme Dean rubbed his hands together. In fact, he was also very frustrated. He didn't know if this evil Dr. Gui Tong had a grudge against the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. After he invited her here, he came to her with a lot of trivial things. Needless to say, the matter with Yu Wenma was not a problem. After all, they were engaged. The grudges between them must be solved. Therefore, it was within his expectation that the dragon group would go against Luo Qingtong. Anyway, he supported the Crown Prince's faction. He didn't care if Luo Qingtong went against Mo Qinxian. But what was wrong with the Qingwei group? The Grand Principal tugged at his beard, feeling that he was simply worrying too much. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.